Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to this new episode of Spotlight. And we are back in English, my man. We've made a couple episodes in French, and then we made our first episode in Spanish last week. So that's awesome because we are reaching out to you guys everywhere you are in the world. We are trying to make this show your show and to give you tips, good practices, anything you could need as a filmmaker. We are trying to bring that to you in every language we can. So far we have three, and we are back in English today. My guest was a finalist today. My guest today was a finalist as Best Director at the Hollywood Art and Movie Awards, the festival we have in January in Los Angeles, and she won Revelation Filmmaker at the same festival. It's my pleasure to have with me today Vergi Rodriguez. How are you doing, Vergi?
Hi, Matt. I'm well. How are you?
I'm very good. Where are you right now?
I'm in Los Angeles right now at the moment.
Okay, good. So you have a sunny day. Everything is kind of fine, as much as it can be, I guess.
Right, as much as it can be. It's pretty warm out, so I'm excited about the warmer weather and that we're opening up slowly but surely.
Yeah, starting opening it back in California. So I just said that you submitted to the Hollywood Festival we have every year, and you
Mhm.
got selected with your film Dreamer.
Yeah.
You ended up finalist in the Best Director category, and you got to win the Revelation Filmmaker this year with us, and we are very happy about it. The movie is Dreamer. Can you remind us a little bit what the movie is about, and could you pitch it quickly?
Yes, of course. Well, thank you for that. Thanks for that introduction, and I'm super excited. I think Revelation Filmmaker for me means a lot, especially with the story. So, Dreamer is basically about a Lily Cruz, who's a DACA recipient here in the U.S.,
Yeah.
who's a medical student. She went on a volunteer mission trip to Venezuela, and when she got back into the U.S., because of a glitch in the system, she was stopped by a TSA agent and kind of possibly got deported. So, that's the plight of dreamers right now and DACA recipients in the US. So I just wanted to highlight that.
So that's basically she's a doctor in the movie, correct?
Correct.
She's a doctor, and she comes to the airport, and she goes through customs, and you gotta give your thumb, you gotta get your print, you gotta show your passport, and the person in front says there's a problem with you, and we gotta get you into detention. Basically, that's it.
Pretty much, pretty much. And I kind of left all of that loosely because there's so many
Yeah.
different stories I've heard about people, dreamers, and specifically and DACA recipients getting stopped at the border and trying to get back into the U.S. and not getting the right approval to leave because dreamers here in the U.S. actually have parole officers. That's something I researched, which I kind of make light of in the short film as well. Like kind of like a criminal, like criminals have parole
Yeah,
officers.
it sounds like that. Something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so not, immigrants that have been here for a long time. So again, I kind of left a lot of that loose and up in the air because I didn't want to get too caught up in what was the glitch, what was the issue. It's just this can potentially happen.
Did you experience yourself any situation like this, or is this total fiction for you?
For me, it's total fiction.
Okay.
I was born here in the US. I was born in New York City. And what I did was when I first started writing the film, I just started researching different stories about dreamers and DACA recipients and what they had encountered at the border. And I just kind of mesh and molded all of those stories into one. I've never experienced that. I've actually experienced that in other countries as an American,
Okay.
a little bit, like, the hostility against
That,
Americans
yeah.
sometimes isn't always great. So I've experienced it reverse. But I think we all, every time we go into a new country, we all experience that. Oh God, here we go. Now we have the
Yeah.
mean looking person that's gonna, kind of.
Yeah. I do know what you're talking about. Um, when you submitted to the Hollywood Art and Movie Awards, what did you expect? What did you think you were going to take away from our festival?
I was hoping to at least get selected, which is what happened.
Good.
So I got selected. So first one, check.
Yeah.
I think, as of like what to expect, you just hope that, you strike a chord with the audience, you strike a chord with the judges, that they take something away from it too, and again, I went in telling this story more like, I just want to start a conversation because this is so politically charged, and the way people
It
feel
is.
about immigration in this country is so just, it's an edgy and touchy subject. I just said, can we just start this conversation? I'm not in politics. It's not what I do. I'm a filmmaker. I'm a storyteller. So why don't we tell this story? And I think everyone has some sort of immigration story, especially here in the US. So my
And
hope is
then
to start the conversation, which we're doing now. So that's great.
when you see this and you get to Revelation Filmmaker Award 2020 goes to, and you see your name, when you see that, how do you react?
I
How do
mean,
you feel about it?
it's touching. It really is, because it's like, wow, revelation means that's a big thing. It means a lot.
Means
So
what it means. Yeah.
it means what it means. Like, okay, so it was a revelation maybe to some people. Maybe they do get it. Maybe this is just the beginning of talking about this. Can we see change? Are we going to be able to move forward and make change? Like, okay, that's awesome. I mean, I was excited. I was, caught off guard. I wasn't sure that I was even going
You
to win
s-
anything. So
you said that it's politically charged. Did you feel with maybe some festivals reluctance or kind of a um, difficult reaction because of the theme and because of the story itself?
what I have noticed, and I'll just say this, and this is for any filmmaker, um, especially if you're doing a specific subject that could sway political, right? Or more social justice in this sense. What I have
Yeah.
noticed is that some of the festivals I've submitted at in the US that are in certain types of states that
Hmm.
feel a certain way about immigration didn't accept my film. And so it's fine, that's okay. I'm not saying all of those states were that way. And I think a lot of the feedback I was getting for the ones that didn't accept me was saying that because of COVID they had that many more submissions. So that's interesting
Okay.
that so many more people were submitting to festivals.
We
um,
didn't have that.
you're like, not us. Yeah, well,
Okay.
that was some of the feedback I got. And
Okay.
and so it was like, oh, okay, well, it is what it is. You know what I mean? If I got it into Hollywood, so I'm fine with that. I got into Hollywood Awards Film Festival, so I'm good with that. Um, you know, who's supposed to see the story will and be touched by it and will get it
Yeah.
and will be moved by it. And that was my goal.
Yeah, and the idea you said it is to start a conversation. So any festival who's going to accept the film is going to be a new platform to talk about it. We made a great talk with 5 different women filmmaker at the time. Um, what was the most interesting for you during that roundtable with fellow filmmakers? To listen to their stories, to share yours, both of it. Do you remember anything that kind of you were not expected? What do you take away from the platform we gave you basically at the Hollywood Art and Movie Awards?
Just having a platform, just being able to highlight female filmmakers and say, this has been our plight. This is what we're up against. I think for a long time in Hollywood, the narrative has been there's not enough female filmmakers. There's not enough, oh, there I am, female
Yeah.
filmmakers of color that are telling their
True.
stories, or their stories aren't good enough or aren't inspiring enough or whatever. They won't engage an audience. So I think just having that platform and just you highlighting women and female filmmakers is a great step in that direction. Like, I think I even said in that roundtable, I think almost like 90% of my crew was female. So
Yeah, I remember that.
yeah, including the camera department, including, my co-director, my producer, like, so it is possible. It,
It
yes.
is. It is, and we definitely we wanna promote that. We want to showcase these kind of opportunities because the more we're gonna talk about it, the more it's gonna become normal or less interesting to talk about, which means it's gonna become usual, and we still need to fight for this to be usual on set.
Agreed.
You've been working with many different strong female artists, and I'm talking about your dancing and choreographing past.
Yeah.
When I went back to your bio on Film Freeway, I saw you've been working with projects with Jennifer Lopez, Britney Spears, Jessica Alba, Prince. Did
Yeah.
you? Can
Yeah.
you tell me about it? Can you enlighten me about this adventures you had?
Well, actually, the first time I went to Paris was on tour with Jennifer Lopez. So I can share that link with you once I find it. It was a show, and the hosts were talking to us in French, and I didn't really know how to speak in French. So, they were super nice but funny, but we didn't know what they were saying. So I think that was the first time I went to Paris. And so,
Okay.
yeah, and it was my first time in Europe. Um,
Amazing. So what did you do? Were you dancing? Were you a choreographer?
No, I was dancing with her at the time. It was a promotional tour. She was promoting on the 6th, and it was her first time as a recording artist. So we hit up a couple of shows in Paris. Again, it was my first time in Paris, so I was super excited to be there.
What
And
about what about Prince?
so with Prince, I had worked with him. We were working out of Paisley Park. We were working on a project that his wife at the time had put together called New Power Generation Dance Company. And it was a dance show set to all his music. So it was like music,
Okay.
back in the day, like in the 80s when he came out. Then they had set a ballet piece called Kama Sutra, which is a whole concerto that he composed. That's
Yeah.
beautiful. So if you guys can find that somewhere, I would say go listen to that. And then the last part of the show was like more of his more recent music at the time. And so we only hit like the Midwest, really. We didn't really go outside of that, but we did get to rehearse at Paisley Park. I did get to share the stage with him there because he would give free concerts. And to me, it like changed me in the sense of, I think I got a lot of my work ethic from watching
Gotcha.
how someone like him worked. Because when you step on a stage with someone like him, you feel it. It's just energetic. You just
Yeah.
automatically feel it.
You,
And
you receive the energy and you can feed from that.
yeah, and I better do my job like for
Well
real,
and very well.
because if not, I will get fired and they won't care.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's with
Yeah.
anything really. But with him, it was like the stakes were raised. So, I think
Which
he's
is
got,
good.
yeah, I think
It
he's got,
pushes you to be creative.
yes, 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 yes. And I think, it's so funny because people, I think, have this misconception about dancers and choreographers, and they just kind of lump us into, they're just dance moves. They're just part of the show. And what
Much
they
more
don't,
than that.
yeah, and what they don't understand is that sometimes because we're with an artist so much, we are also sometimes it's kind of like we kind of brush them up a little bit, give them that little boost of confidence, push them out on stage and go sell records. And it's a certain
Yeah.
mentality because at the end of the day, there's a business. It's a business, music business, like film business.
It
It's all
is.
business. So
It's showbiz. It's one facet, one side of the showbiz, and people don't. I think people underestimate the amount, the hours, and the life work that dancers, performers, dancing put
mhm,
into their work. I've had the chance to through the PAMA to interview a couple of ballet dancer,
mhm.
and the struggle, the physical pain, and the work behind this is just like nothing you could imagine, for real. You see the end result, you
And
see the show.
working with
That's it.
high level artists like Prince, like Jennifer Lopez, like Britney Spears, there is a machine, it's a business, and you have to be prepared mentally. And I think that that's really helped me understand how to look at all this as a business as
Yeah,
well. But I'm as a creative, I will always be a creative first. I have a story to tell and I have a purpose.
yeah,
And I think that that's
yeah.
how I'm looking at it now.
A couple of words about Dancing with the Stars.
Ha! Yes. Okay. So I danced on Dancing with the Stars, choreographed by Brian Friedman. He was one of Britney Spears's choreographers as well. and he choreographed a piece for Dancing with the Stars with Jenna Dewan as well. And it was, yeah, it was just a specific piece that they did for Dancing with the Stars. So I wasn't like one of the weekly
Mhm.
dancers that was there, but it was a chance I got to be on that stage. So it felt really good. Just another accomplishment of something I can tick off of my box here.
Do you still dance, or did you leave that behind?
I dance around my house. That's about it. Like, I
I
retired. No, but I don't professionally, not so much, not anymore.
okay.
Kind of have moved away from that a little bit.
Okay. How would you describe yourself as a filmmaker today? Let's say transitioning from dance and your previous life from the one you are in right now as writer, producer, I think, filmmaker, director. How did you jump from here to there?
So, in between all that, I think again, as artists, we all, I'm sure we're filmmakers, but we like to paint or we like to do, other things creatively.
Mhm.
I was also acting at the time, and I remember my agent sending me out on an audition, and it was for a Hispanic woman who was supposed to be a maid, and it's like for the Latino community, the Hispanic community, it's always we're either detective, we're a streetwalker,
Yeah.
or we're a maid, and that's it, or a gang member. It's always that. And I remember reading it, and it, like the description said, the breakdown said something like, have an accent, but like a neutral accent. And it was like, it just annoyed me. Like it just really, and I
Yeah.
said, you know what? I've been on enough sets. I've worked as a dancer. I'm ready. I was writing at the time. I was actually writing half-hour sitcom at a class at UCLA. And I
Okay.
said, well, why don't I just tell this why don't I do a short film? Like about what? What am I passionate about? And seeing what was going on at the time in the States with immigration and what 45, our president was saying at the time, that president was saying at the time,
Mhm.
I was like, how else can I get my anger out but through, media, through film, through
So,
storytelling.
so you're
So
telling me that the original spark to make you write and produce Dreamer was out of frustration in a way to see or to witness all these stereotypes in the industry, and having something at heart you wanted to get out and to tell about. So that means, can we say that you transformed a need to tell a story into an actual positive, as far
story.
as it can be, as a
Yeah.
good story? How did you come from anger to a positive results in a creative way?
At the time, I think it was like my outlet. Again, as a dancer, I always use dance as an outlet, right? Of getting the
Yeah.
frustration, getting that all out. So again, I had been on enough sets as a dancer. I really go back to my dance career, being on many music video sets, on film sets, and understanding and knowing what that looked like. I didn't know everything, but you know, just having that spark to say, I need to tell the story because I'm tired of reading people telling me that this is the story of Hispanics in this country,
Yeah.
or the Latino community, of the Black community, whatever it is. It's like, no, we have our own stories. Let's tell them. Let's stop letting people tell us what they are. Let's tell them. So I think that that's what it was. I wanted to see the shift. I didn't wait for somebody to shift it. I did it. I just took it upon myself.
You wanted to be one part of the act
Of the solution.
towards the solution, or at least be part of the discussion and initiate some part of it. Dreamer has been selected in something like more than 45 film festivals so far.
Just about.
What congratulations first.
Thank
Uh,
you.
what did you receive in terms of feedbacks from the audience or the film festival teams themselves? What did you receive? Because again, this is very it's contemporary, it's political, it's real life issues. So what did you receive from that film of yours?
I mean, for me, some of the feedback from the festivals themselves have all been positive. They've all it's resonated with everyone. It's not just like a Hispanic or Latino community story. It's everyone has immigrants in their family. So it's resonated on
Yeah.
some level. I've had people, from different political backgrounds say, I had heard about that, but I didn't understand it. I kind of understand it better now.
Better
So
now.
part of starting that conversation, and I think the feedback has been like there's different film festivals that have been like, we have film resource centers. If you ever want to come by and use it for any reason, we're a resource for you.
Good.
So I think that's, it's saying, hey, if you have anything in the future, please, send it to us in the future. So I think it's about now, besides just networking and going, it would have been great to meet you guys in person, right? But there'll always be this connection like, hey, I have this film. Maybe
Yep.
you guys would be interested. I think it's about that bigger community of now I know like-minded who's kind of there. Will I always be accepted to the same festivals? I don't know. But at least I now have, hey, can I get some feedback on something? And
Yeah.
meeting filmmakers kind of in the same journey as me. That's been
It does. That's why we have the alumni network at the Paris Auto Movie Awards. We do receive cold emails from past winning or selected filmmakers who are asking for a fresh eye at some point in the production and the creation of their new films. And we've had, for example, films, we have scripts, we receive scripts, and like 2 or 3 years later, we receive the movies in the festival. So we are all for building that story with you and have this continuing discussion. And you being here today is once again putting these into action.
exactly.
You received a certification from the mayor of Los Angeles, the current mayor of Los Angeles. Can you tell me what it is about and what's that story?
So for a short time, like after my dance career, I kind of dabbled a little bit into music. And so I ended up shooting a music video, guerrilla style, throughout Los Angeles. And I had submitted that to another festival. It was like a local, like showed Los Angeles in a positive light, but it was run by the city of LA. So
Okay.
through that kind of festival or program here in the city of LA, it got a commendation from the mayor's office. So I have a whole certificate, signed by the mayor, stamped with the seal, saying, thank you to Vergi Rodriguez as a filmmaker for showing Los Angeles in a positive light. So that was that
Amazing.
thing. Yeah. So it's just, I think that was the first thing that I had done that had gotten some kind of recognition that I was like, maybe I need to dabble into filmmaking more too. So not only kind of the auditioning portion of it where I was like frustrated, it was
Yeah.
also
Yeah.
little things I had done that I got my feet wet and I was like, maybe I can do this. Maybe I should continue to do this.
There are some points, some accolades you receive, or sometimes you don't expect to receive them, but when you do, you have this movement like, oh,
Yeah.
I am doing something good, and I kind of lost sight of it, or maybe I lost sight of the scope of what I was doing or the impactfulness of what I'm doing. And that's always, these small moments for me are like jewels that shine at some point and say, oh, that's me. I like it.
Yeah. And, when to that point, I've been a dancer since I was 7 years old. I went to Performing Arts High School in New York, which was the Fame school. I would watch
Yeah.
Fame movie and the show and be like, I want to go to that school. So I've always, and I was able to, and I've always been around artists. It's been my life and it's what I love to do. And sometimes we get away from it. I did have to take a break from the industry, I feel, for a while because I just was tired. I didn't want to do it anymore. But I realized that's what I want to do. It's what I feel the happiest doing. So again, there's highs and lows, but I think it was on the set of Dreamer that my co-director Diana said, this is a social justice film, right? And I was like, is it? Like I didn't
Is
even
it?
I didn't even set out to make it that. I just was like, I just want to tell a story that's relevant to what I'm passionate
You
about.
you have a story to tell, and as a filmmaker nowadays, I think you have to be smart about the final product that you have, and I say product and not film. You have to be aware of that product and the way you're gonna describe it, the way you're gonna write the pitch, the synopsis, the way you're gonna create the poster, the way you're gonna create everything that comes with a package, because you can have a magnificent movie if you don't know how to push it with the right words and the right material, marketing material to the audience and the film festivals and everything, you're not going to do anything with it. So I think you managed to make a film that was true to yourself and then find ways to create the discussions in many different places through that film. So that's an achievement, I gotta say. And again, congratulations for that.
I'm gonna
I wanted to ask about.
I'm gonna use that from now on. I'm gonna take that. I'm gonna give you credit, Matt, but I'm gonna use that little clip.
Okay.
Perfect.
On a personal note, what if you take Virgil Rodriguez like 5 years ago, and Virgil Rodriguez where you are and who you are today, what would be the one advice you would give, or what would be one of the keys that were successful for you to evolve as a filmmaker and to grow as a filmmaker?
I think it's having faith in my own talent, and not to sound arrogant, not to sound, but sometimes we doubt that we have the tools inside of us to make it happen. Like, well, I'm not a good writer. I've never written anything. I've never really directed a film. These were all things that went through my head, and it was like, I've done it. I know what it looks like. I've seen my friends do it. I've seen other people do it, but I've never done it. So it's the doubt, that can creep in there. So it's, I think for me, just saying, just have faith. You can do it. You've done it. You got to start somewhere, right? And they always say
Yeah.
there's all those quotes about failure, and you have to fail to know, right? So even if it was a failure, it's just, to me, any little, acceptance to a festival, winning an award like Revelation Filmmaker, like things like that are just more like positive reinforcement of like, see, it's confirmation. See, like, keep going. And it
Yeah.
just, sometimes life happens, so we let it get in the way.
Yeah.
So
What are the new projects you are working on, and what is your next move, basically?
So I'm writing at the moment. I'm writing my first feature, which is pretty
Good.
exciting. Yeah, it's set in New York City, and that's all I'll say about that. And then I'm also writing my first hour-long drama. I have a couple of comedy pilots that I've written
Okay.
that I'm looking at potentially pitching. But I'm writing my first 1 hour drama that's kind of an extension of Dreamer. So it'll be an extension of Dreamer, and I'm really excited to explore that world. I'm just starting that script, so it's just that was also my intention when I did Dreamer. I was like, I would like to make this either a feature or like a TV show. Like, what happens to our characters after the short?
After that.
Is it her, or do we follow another family or another situation? So that's where I'm at.
It's very interesting you say that, because you are in a writing process, different projects, and you just said the question before that you had never written anything before the short
Mhm.
script. So you
Yeah.
already going above and beyond. You don't listen to your own doubts, and you do it.
Yeah.
So you are putting into action your own word of advice, and that's kind of cool. I like it.
Yeah, it
I like
is.
it very much.
Again, it's like we have to be our own cheerleader. Sometimes we're not
Yeah,
going to get validation from our friends, from our family, even people we've worked with on our own projects. They've got their
true.
lives, they're doing their thing. So we have to, how do we keep our confidence going, our faith going in what we're doing. So yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I
it's
totally agree with that.
it's work.
Vergi, you have an Instagram. I'm going to put it back on the screen right now. If you want to follow Vergi and know more about her adventures and creative endeavors and everything she does, this is Vergi's Instagram. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for sharing your story. And that was the occasion for me to go a little even deeper than what we did during the round table we had back in January. It's always a pleasure to discuss with filmmakers like you who don't limit themselves and just go for it, whatever the result. And usually the results are good. So we just need to let go of the doubts and the limitations we have and just try and do it. Because when you try, you're going to be ahead of somebody who didn't try anyway.
Right. And we all have limiting beliefs. We all have, believe me, we all have limiting beliefs. I appreciate that, Matt. Thank you for always including me. I'm at your disposal. Whatever you guys need,
Amazing.
I'm here. I'm totally supporting your festival and I'm just excited to be here. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a very good rest of your week and talk to you soon.
You too. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. If you want guys to be in Vergi's seat and be one of the next guests of the Spotlight show, you go on Film Freeway. The second category is the Spotlight category. So you need to submit any movie, anything you want to the Paris Art and Movie Awards. And in addition to that mandatory category, you can go to the Spotlight category, and we are considering every submission. Even if we don't select your film, you are going to be considered for the Spotlight category, and we're going to be able to include you in the promotion, whether that show, Spotlight, or the other formats we have on TikTok and Instagram and everything. If you're not interested in coming to Spotlight, but you still want to be considered for the Paris Art and Movie Awards, you can still go on Film Freeway, and we are also on Click for Festival and Fest Home, other platforms you can, if you have a choice of platforms. And we are receiving films right now. We are reviewing the films already. Since we opened the call for entries, it was in December, if I'm correct. We already have good stuff, and we are still always looking for the new filmmakers, the new generations, people with ideas, people like Vergi with a story to tell through film, whether it's a documentary, a feature film, a short film, an experimental movie, a music videos. We have more than 20 categories at the Paris Art and Movie Awards. You know all that. You can go on Film Freeway. We want your film, and we hope to see you very soon. It was a pleasure to discuss with you through the screen, and see you every Monday, 9 a.m. Los Angeles, 6 p.m. Paris, France, for a new episode of Spotlight with a different guest all the time. And it's always a pleasure to talk about movies and to share experiences. See you soon.